Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV. Last week, we did some stuff over in Radz-at-Han, and basically got told to go back to Old Sharlayan and do some more stuff there. So, we're going to dive into that and see how far we can make it tonight. So, let's go. All right, we are live.
I forgot to ask, where'd you guys get the lizard?
Lizard?
Off the auction house.
Auction house.
Lizard with the bow, yeah.
Yeah.
Just as I was getting used to balmy Thavnir, we're back in chilly Sharlayan. Take care not to catch your death, eh? We need you for battles yet to come. Now then, your investigation here remains, but when that's over, we can take stock of all the developments and discoveries. I figured that was all that was going to be. Just a turn in of the other quest and now go do the other quest. I wonder if I can climb this rock.
You can.
Okay. My directions were easy to follow, I hope. In any case, you stand now before the doors of the Nomion, Sharlayan's grandest collection of books and tomes. The building is actually only an entrance, and one of many at that, for the archives of Nomion extend deep beneath the surface, like the roots of a tree. The vast halls of the Great Gubal Library pale in comparison to Nomion's endless maze of subterranean chambers. Any citizen of Sharlayan is free to enter and peruse its shelves. Well, most of its shelves. Only Archons are afforded access to certain restricted vaults. I've dispatched Istola and Raha to investigate those. Meanwhile, Alizé and Alphanode will help me continue my search through the stacks to open to the general public. Your status presents more of a problem. As a non-citizen, you are only permitted to browse the first floor here at the entrance. Even so, there should be a number of books which touch upon Sharlayan's history or foreign policy. Your task will be to find and study the relevant publications. I promise you, a working knowledge of these subjects will make it far easier to spot the sort of clues we're looking for. Let us be about it, shall we? I've told the others to meet us at the stone benches over there once they've found some promising tomes. Happy reading. The first floor, eh? That's quite a number of books.
There's a sightseeing to the right.
Ah, I see. Evening. Welcome to the stream. Long, long ago, on an island in the northern sea, there lived a Radagan man by the name of Numkreft. Numkreft was a student of astrology, and he divined that a flood of terrifying proportions would soon sweep over the lands of Eorzea. So it was that he built a gigantic ship, assembled a crew, and set sail for that imperiled realm. The flood arrived as foretold, and to their horror, the strangely churning waters drove the people towards the ocean. It was there, however, that Numkreft's crew hauled them aboard his ark. But the But the danger had not passed. A towering wave approached, threatening to smash the vessel to pieces. With only moments to spare, Nurmkreft wove a mighty spell of teleportation and shifted the entire ship to safety atop Ablathia's spine. Refugees from the surrounding regions huddled there alongside them, but it was not long before disputes over the dwindling supply of food led to violence and bloodshed. Saddened by the sight, Nurmkreft gathered to him his crew and his grateful passengers and abandoned the Ark to those reddened peaks. They journeyed to the coast, where they built a new ship, intent upon returning to the northern seas. They landed on the beach of an island and settled upon that very spot. That settlement prospered and grew, and in time became the city of Sharlayan we live in to this day. Teleported their ship to the top of Ablathia's spine, eh? Near where Ishgard is now?
Huh.
Is Sharlayan claiming some backhanded responsibility for the founding of Ishgard, too?
Oh, yeah.
Many years ago, on the banks of Thaliak in the Dravanian hinterlands, a Sharlayan colony once thrived. This settlement was originally established as a mere outpost to study the ethereal sea in the year 1311 of the 6th Astral Era. Scholars dispatched to Eorzea found the facilities wanting, and their demands encouraged a gradual expansion in structures and services. As rumors spread of a growing community of academics, the area was further inundated with Eorzean students hoping to share in the renowned wisdom of the Sharlayans. 50 years later, the Forum passed a motion to recognize what had become a flourishing town as an official Sharlayan colony. Eorzean residents took to calling the colony itself Sharlayan, which led to no small amount of confusion when discussions turned to the subject of the motherland. In response, some Sharlayan inhabitants, if pressed for a name, would simply refer to it as Emporium. Following the Great Exodus, however, goblins and treasure hunters claimed for themselves a corner of the abandoned colony and gave it yet another name, Idlishire. The following chapters go on to introduce the most prominent features of Idlishire. This book does not appear to contain additional information on the Forum or cover the history of Sharlayan motherland in greater detail. I note the counter didn't go up, so that book didn't count. The Voice of the Glowing City. In the years which followed the founding of Sharlayan, civic policy and other matters of import were decided by the Ecclesia, a public forum at which every citizen was eligible to speak. As the city's population grew, however, this format became increasingly impractical. The larger number of participants gave rise to ever longer debates, resulting in significant delays on vital resolutions. Various measures were introduced in an attempt to curtail protracted discussions, but in the year 201 of the 6th Astral Era, it was ultimately decreed that Sharlayan would transition to a new form of governance. The nation would now be led by a body of 99 members, citizens chosen from amongst their peers by means of a nationwide vote. Thus was the Forum, as we know it today, conceived and created. Have you ever gazed at the skies above and contemplated the mysteries contained therein? I speak not of shifting cloud patterns, but of the vastness beyond, of the sun and the twinkling tapestry of the night. Some think the dome above us is to be a finite space, yet amongst the leading thinkers of our age, one scholar's depiction of the boundless sea of stars has firmly taken root. Alas, this heavenly sea remains an unreachable, unknowable destination. There are few indeed who can explain, in satisfactory detail, why our own star is believed to revolve around the sun. It was the technologists of Alag who came closest to understanding the laws which govern the starry abyss. It was they who launched Dalamud and sought to expand beyond our earthbound existence. Having read of their ancient ambitions, I wonder, has your interest in this field of study waxed or waned? What if I were to tell you that the eternal constellations were arranged differently in distant past? That their positions continue to shift almost imperceptibly but measurably as we journey into the future? Would it shock you to learn that the stars drift further and further apart and may indeed do so forever? Are you eager to learn more? The book is on the wrong subject. Search for works which contain details on the forum or mention the history of Charlian.
Would you like to hear more? That reminds me of Starship Troopers.
Uh-huh. I thought it did too. My beloved seekers of knowledge, have you ever put learning before your health and neglected to feed the rest of your body as you should? I too once engaged in such foolish practices, but one night, engrossed in philosophical study, I had an epiphany. For all the world's mysteries that drive us to reckless abandon, we have so very few years of life in which to achieve our goals. Thus do I share with you this mantra: I am forever 20 summers young. The number itself is unimportant. You could be 19, or 23, or 40, whatever age you are when you discover this manual. Let that be the age you aspire to remain. Through mindful, healthy living, will you extend the time available to spend upon your chosen research. Another day, another moon, another summer to grasp the greater truths you pursue. In the pages to follow, we will explore the secrets of maintaining one's physical condition from a biological, aetherological, and arcane viewpoint. The book is on the wrong subject. Search for works which contain details, etc., etc. Yes, we don't need a Charlian self-help book. During the chaos of the Sixth Umbral Calamity, Archon Numkreft, founder of Charlian, bore witness to the madness and savagery of men brought to the brink of despair. Upon raising a settlement on an island in the northern Empty, he instructed his people thus: renounce the ways of war and pursue enlightenment through knowledge and reason. The Charlians took to heart the words of their savior and thenceforth served as stewards of wisdom. Upon a foundation of accumulated learning, they built a homeland unlike any other, a nation born from strengths of minds rather than strengths of arms. With knowledge of economics came shrewd trading. With knowledge of agriculture came bountiful crops. Engineering brought wells and sewers, ending squabbles over water. Wealth of expertise could be bartered for wealth in coin. And the more their wisdom spread throughout the world, the more mankind as a whole would thrive. And so it was that no matter the trials and tribulations of the age, the citizens of Charlian would live by their founders' teachings. For the sake of a better tomorrow, for the sake of a brighter star, they would eschew the tools of war, and with knowledge deliver the world. You've gained a fundamental understanding of Charlian history and the foundation of the Forum. Head outside to the rendezvous point and await your companions. Only had to read all the books.
Yeah, right?
I probably would have read them all anyway. Sorry, were you waiting long? Wanted to make sure I'd borrowed at least a few promising volumes. Alpha Note and Kryl should be along shortly. That was delayed in similar fashion. As far as I could see, no titles in the Archon stacks mention the final day specifically. So we have no choice but to start with the tangentially relevant tomes, if they are even that. At present, the plan is to skim through as quickly as we dare and share our discoveries as we make them. It would have been nice to invite everyone to the estate. Plenty of comfortable places of reeds and a ready supply of hot tea. Oh, I was always quite fond of reading outside. But it's not about the little pleasures, is it? You miss your home. It's been difficult. After our arrival, we managed to speak with one of the family's servants and ask how things were. It seems our dear father has instructed the staff that even if Alphonse and I were to return to Charlian, we are not to be allowed access to the across the threshold. A harsh measure indeed. I hope that our efforts to understand his position and that of the Forum will perhaps lead to a reconciliation. We'll mend this rift one day, I'm certain of it. And what of you, Graha? Have you been to visit your family, or do they not live here in the city? Well, my situation is somewhat complicated. I was raised in Charlian, yes, but I was born rather further away. In the southern reaches of Isambard, in fact. For generations, my people have dwelt in Corvos, the coastal region opposite the island of Thavnir. The Alligans founded a city in that fertile land, and by ship brought in the subjugated tribes of the Mikote to serve as laborers. Of course, the massive earthquakes of the Fourth Umbral Calamity brought an end to the Empire's reign, and with the Fifth Calamity when the Fifth Calamity froze the seas solid, many of the tribes living in Corvos braved the journey back to Eorzea. My ancestors, however, chose to remain, that they might prevent the remnants of Allagan technology from being misused. Isn't Corvos under Garlean rule? For the past 50 years, yes. Some semblance of local culture remains, as is the case in most imperial provinces, but Garlemald renamed the region Locus Ammonius. When I was a boy, a nearby town came under the jurisdiction of an illustrious imperial family, the nobles of House Darnus. House Darnus demonstrated a singular interest in Allagan's civilization, and so my tribe was forced to consider a plan of action. For some time already, voices had been raised in favor of abandoning our ancient customs. After all, the Allagan Eye no longer passed to our eldest children as reliably as it once had. Fear of discovery eventually tipped the scales, and the decision was made to bury our ties to the knowledge and traditions of Allag. As the last child born with the Allagan Eye, I was given over to the custody of friends and the students of Baldessian, who had me registered as a Charlian citizen. I never even considered. Forgive me, it was an unkind question. Even Thancred was taken in by Archon Louiswa, was he not? Stories of adopted waifs and rescued orphans are more common among Charlians than you might think. Yet, regardless of our origins, we are all provided with an equal opportunity to learn, and with sufficient perspicacity, we outsiders can even earn the vaunted title of Archon. Is exactly why I have such love for this country, and why I wish it to remain a nation of which its citizens can be proud. Hear, hear. Another good reason to get to the bottom of the Forum's stubbornness, aside from the trifling matter of our impending doom. Excuse us while we try to make some headway in these books. More companies should be arriving any moment now. So, I'm not allowed to go to the lower levels to see the books, but you're allowed to bring them out here?
Yeah.
I was seeing if the NPCs had anything interesting to say.
No problem.
Or I should say, if Graha or Alice had anything to say. They're better than just NPCs, after all. We've returned with our selections. Although I must say, the pickings were quite slim indeed. Mistress Kryl has already flicked through every history book devoted to disasters, and more than a few which barely made mention of them. As such, we will be looking into research papers on the umbral calamities, as well as articles written by prominent forum members. Perhaps their knowledge of the final days comes from an unexpected source. Speaking of which, might I ask you a few questions related to the final days? I'm the only one here who didn't witness the events of Amarat firsthand, and I fear I may be overlooking critical details. That's why we sent Stola in there, Kryl. My thanks. Now, where to begin? First things first. What kind of phenomenon did the ancients encounter as the final days drew nigh? It was the first one, wasn't it? They were having trouble with their creation magics?
I think so.
Yeah, I really want to say they didn't exactly say what was going on other than just things were not working right.
Yeah.
And something was coming.
Well, it was a destabilization of their creation magics.
Okay. Yes, the unfolding catastrophe wrought havoc on all manner of life. The chaos extended to the ancients themselves, causing their powers of creation to spiral out of control. Fear and despair manifested in terrible, tangible fashion. Meteors raining from the sky, fire erupting from the ground, indescribable abominations prowling the streets. That more or less aligns with my understanding. If only the arts of creation had survived until the present day, we might have had something substantial to analyze. To the best of our knowledge, however, those techniques were not preserved or passed on. If Stola survives, that the closest known magic is that of the summoning rituals promulgated by the Asians. Was there aught else of note which heralded the approach of the final days? Was the keening sound of the land itself, wasn't it?
I think so.
I like the third though. It's funny.
Yeah. I'm going with option 2. Ah, yes. The Amortines spoke of it, didn't they? We never did hear this sound ourselves, of course. Thrust as we were into the midst of the madness. But it seems that each and every one of the catastrophes was preceded by this ominous noise. Eventually, it resounded all across the star, and not even Amaro was spared. Amorat. Eventually, I will pronounce it correctly. So, the ground was crying out, you say. To be considered the harbinger of doom, it must have been quite distinctive, and probably quite loud. I'll have to speak with one of the Nomenon Mammoths, and ask after any books which make mention of such a sound. Last but not least, would you describe how the ancients sought to quell this unprecedented calamity? What definitive action did they take? They summoned Zodiark.
Can you remind me what the third thing is? The Dalamud?
That's the moon that held Bahamut.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yes, with Elidibus serving as his heart. So many gave themselves in sacrifice to bring him into being. We do not know exactly how Zodiark brought salvation to the star, only that by his godlike will were the laws of nature set aright. Then, once the balance was redressed, the ancients offered up further sacrifice to heal the ravages of the final days. Lives sprouted anew, and it was these fledgling souls that intended to render unto Zodiark a trade that would have allowed them to resurrect the shades of loved ones absorbed by the primal. Or might have, had Vana and her followers not manifested their opposition in the form of Hydaelyn. Thank you, both of you. for the detailed review. I feel much more confident now in my understanding of events. With all that freshly in mind, it does make me wonder what the Telafari truly mean when they speak of bringing back the final days. We've seen what they're doing with the towers of theirs. Is forcing people to summon primals a kind of catalyst? Are they attempting to mirror the conditions caused by unstable creation magics? Or are they simply using the final days as a figure of speech, a convenient metaphor for the scale of destruction they plan to unleash? But this is all just pointless conjecture at this stage. Let us return our attention to the forum, shall we? We should keep an eye out for Ishtola, but this time we begin studying these research papers.
You know, I had a thought. What if we're supposed to be the heart of Heidelin?
Maybe, but I would think that would be Vana or one of their followers. But I guess, well, maybe.
Well, if we lost our memory, which we did when we first started, we didn't know who we were, whatever. The voice, she talked to us and all that, and I can't remember everything from the beginning, but I was just like, oh, wait.
Yeah.
Anywho.
I would say probably not, since Heidelin speaks to us like we have a will of our own instead of being part of her will. But maybe.
Yep, maybe that's what she wanted, though, so
True.
that we would let all the other living things on the planets stay alive.
Could be. Although I've also just had a thought. This founder of Charlian, could he have been an Ascian? Or possibly Emmett Selk doing his empire founding stuff that he loves to do?
Could be. But then it also brings Emmett Silk was also called us old new friend. So
True.
Could a heart have been his old friend? And then anyway, sorry.
No, it's good theories. I like theories.
My mind's reeling right now with all kinds of thoughts, so I'll just quiet.
I'm the last, am I? Well, my extended search of the Archon stacks produced one or two possibly useful books, but I wouldn't get your hopes up. If you recall, Urianger learned of the source's reflections from the Garen oracles. For its potential to cause panic and confusion, that tome was deemed apocrypha and sealed away in the Great Gubal Library. 'Tis even less likely that knowledge of the unsundered world, not to mention the horrors of the final days, would be left sitting on a shelf for any curious scholar to find. It stands to reason that my colleagues, be they archons or counselors, should perforce be largely ignorant of the subject. Yet when you confronted Master Fortuno with knowledge of the Telafari and their machinations, he scoffed at the suggestion that they posed a threat. He seemed adamant that the Forum would know if the final days were truly upon us. Which only supports the conclusion that whatever privileged wisdom is guiding the Forum's behavior, it is being kept secret from the rest of the nation. I've just had another theory that I'll talk about when Ishtol is done. Not that I mean to excuse myself from reading duty. Whether they contain mention of the final days or no, these books could yet hold something of value. You weren't thinking of leaving, were you? There's plenty of work for everyone. The labor of what feels like an age as Ishtola's research assistant. Oh, you labor for what feels like an age as Ishtola's research assistant. And my thought just now is Charlian was founded after this I can pronounce his name fine when I can see it, but I can't pronounce it when I can't see it. But Egyptian name, when he foresaw the future and went to save people being killed by the flood, right? And then brought them back here and founded Charlie. And what if he had other predictions that to this day the forum is still following as if they are scripture? That would seem like them. His first prediction was right, therefore all of his predictions must be right. And who knows, maybe his prediction is right. But we shall see. Oh dear, you look exhausted. But what about your studies? Were you able to find any books on the subjects I mentioned? Then the day was well spent. Should you wish to read them again, a Mamet at the reference desk will point you in the right direction. For the moment, though, I suggest you take a well-deserved rest. We might be occupied with our research for quite some time. Ready for a tea break? I know I am. Honestly, my neck and shoulders are going to calcify if I don't stretch my legs and walk around a bit. You know the last stand down by the harbor, don't you? Come and meet me near the outside tables, and I'll treat you to their coffee. It's quite good. Okay. I click Graha, and it just says, your efforts to gain Graha Tia's attention go unnoticed. He appears to be lost in his reading.
He does like to read his books.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it, I just noticed that other thing was closer. And not much.
As busy as ever, I see. How very Charlian that no other gourmet cafe has sprung up to compete for customers. Actually, this crowd gives me an idea. Before we place an order, why don't we ask a few questions and gauge the mood of the city? I'm interested to hear what the average citizen has to say about the Telafari. We might even learn something new. Worth a try, don't you think? Alize is now accompanying you. Keep your exercise, etc., etc. Yeah. Okay. Who wants to bet they know nothing?
And we get in
Probably.
trouble
I know, I was like, that's a good way to get in trouble.
and get kicked out.
What is it? Can a man not enjoy a moment of private respite? If you're looking to share a table, then I respectfully request that you look elsewhere. You misunderstood, sir. We were simply wondering if you knew of the Telafari. These enemies of peace have promised an end to all we hold dear, and... Wait, you're the House Lovelier girl, aren't you? This man with you is obviously a foreigner. I heard you were disowned for helping outsiders indulge their barbaric whims, and here you have giving truth to the rumor. I'll think you'd leave me be. I have naught to say to the likes of you. Well, I must apologize. 'Twas foolish of me to expect an ounce of civility from one so enlightened. Come. Hey, y'all better be careful. Alize might gut you. Or at the very least, just cut you.
Or stick an arrow in his back.
Yes, I don't believe I've had the pleasure. Pray excuse the interruption. We were hoping you might share your thoughts on the Telafari and their unconscionable plans. My goodness, if it isn't young Miss Lovelier. My apologies, but I work in the offices of the Forum, and if word reached Master Forshalt that I was helping you... I see. We're sorry to have bothered you.
Wusses. Oh my hell.
Welcome, sir. What can I offer you today? Wait, is that Miss Alizé I see there? My word, how long has it been? Far too long. Meet Dickon, the owner of The Last Stand. I used to frequent his cafe on occasion, in between lessons at the studium. It seems like an age ago now. I remember hearing that you and Master Alphanote had set sail for Eorzea, but then you never came back. Lately there's been gossip about your father disowning the pair of you. Everything all right at home? It's complicated. And I hadn't expected complete strangers to be so familiar with our situation quite so quickly. Everyone has an opinion, it seems. Well, it is House Levlier. No matter how discreet Master Forshalt may have been, news of your family's doing never stays secret for long. Things being what they are, what brings you back to the city now, of all times? We have questions, and only Charlian has the answers. Tell me, Master Dickon, have you heard anything about an apocalypse called the Final Days? What, like the end of the world? Nothing like that, I'm afraid. And that's what you're here to find? Information on this apocalypse? Yes, whatever we can learn. Unfortunately, your patrons appear to be unwilling to speak with me. I wish there was more I could do to help. But maybe there is. You're a visitor to Charlian, aren't you? Then few will know your face. We should be able to pass you off as a server with none the wiser. We just finished preparing a few orders. Strike up a friendly conversation while you're setting down their food, and you might get the answers you're looking for. Not a bad idea. I hate to ask, but what do you think? That's the spirit. Pay attention. Pay attention now, and I'll explain where each of these dishes needs to go. The tea set is for the chatty group sitting by the water's edge. The omelet is for our regulars, a Highlander by the name of Grisla. She's sitting at an outside table with a friend of hers. Behind them, you should see a Makito gentleman. He ordered the oven-baked lobster. Got all that? If you're not sure, just ask and I'll explain again. Good luck.
Hang on, I gotta put my maid's outfit on.
Yeah, I do feel like they should have given us
An outfit,
A
yeah.
costume, yeah.
Not that I'm going to stop wearing my sword.
What goes here?
the tea.
The chatty ones. May I take your order?
Oh, my tea set. Lovely, thank you. The Talafa who? I'm sorry, I've never heard of you, or heard of them, or their final days. My friends and I are somewhat uninformed when it comes to current events. Now, if you wanted to hear about the ritual arcane practices of the 6th Astral Era, common or esoteric, then I'd be happy to talk your ear off.
What's this one?
Omelet.
Omelet, right?
Someone didn't pay attention.
I tried to, but I forgot.
Ah, finally. 2, 4, 6, 8. Let's dig in with no time to waste. I did not gauge that as being as him trying to rhyme at first. What, the Talafarai? Ah, yes, I remember seeing that name in the latest Gazette. That and some grand claim about the end of days. Same old senseless warmongering. When will all these fools grow tired of spilling each other's blood? Best stay out of it, I say. The Forum made the right choice, and I fully support our decision to remain neutral.
This is the lobster.
Thank you.
At last, the oven-baked lobster is mine. You have no idea how long I've scrimped and saved and suffered to afford this heavenly dish. Final days? This is the first I've heard of it. Although that would explain when my friend has been rushed off his feet. It must be a busy time of year to be a gleaner. You don't know what a gleaner is? They're collectors of sort. Travel the world procuring things that we haven't got here in Charlian. Priceless books, unusual live specimens, and so forth. So named for those folk who trail after the reapers in the fields, picking up every grain which was missed. By all accounts, gleaning is a most meticulous and demanding profession. If these Telophori make good on their audacious threats, then many uncatalogued rarities could be lost forever. Why else would the gleaners be buzzing about in such a frenzy? Watch the harbor and you'll see what I mean. They're carting loads in from the docks all day. It's never been this hectic before, not like this. That's interesting.
Yeah.
They think that they're going to be somehow withheld from the...
They're gonna be saved.
Yeah, they're going to
Yeah.
be saved, and so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think you're right. Which would also explain why Garlemald has left them alone. Is Garlemald could conquer this place, but it would cost them. They could conquer the rest of the world first, and Charlian will just stand by and let them do it. So. Any trouble with the customers? Were you able to get anyone talking? Interesting. They seem unaware of the final days, aside from whatever vague news the gazettes are printing. Even Dickon has nothing to offer, and he's the best source of gossip in the city. The Forum does have secret knowledge, then they've done an impressive job of ensuring no one whispers it in the wrong ear. In any case, thank you for playing the part so well. Here, that cup of coffee I promised. But let's enjoy our drinks somewhere else, shall we? Maybe behind the peristyle, away from the gossips and their wagging tongues.
See that jump? I made it. Couldn't do that before.
Well, you are a rabbit now. They should be able to
Boing,
jump
boing.
high.
Yep.
Yes, they should do nicely. Out of the wind and out of sight.
In the snow.
Uh-huh.
When our father disowned us, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It wasn't until much later that his words began to sink in, that I began to feel the weight of what it meant. Do you remember when the decision was made to come to Charlian? Grahas said that the Forum was determined to keep us in the dark, and that Father's venomous performance was part of that strategy, to keep us at arm's length. Perhaps it was. Father argued with Grandfather on many occasions, but never with such dismissive contempt. And when he demanded what justifies the sacrifices we make in war, I honestly didn't know what to say. Neither did Alpha know, I know, but never for one moment did I believe we had made the wrong choice. So all I could do was fume silently. It was only afterwards that I realized how childish I had been. How being stubborn and self-righteous must run in the family. If I could have just mustered a civil response, then things might have turned out differently.
Ho, ho, ho.
They must be ferrying goods to Labyrinthos. A vast complex beneath the island. Sharlayan is famous for archiving knowledge from around the world. Well, that knowledge is not preserved exclusively in dusty tomes and desiccated samples. Our living library, comprised of all manner of flora and fauna, is housed and studied within that underground facility. Still, that did seem to be an unusually large shipment. When I lived here, it was rare to even see such cargo transported by boat. Wait! Didn't you hear something in the last stand about the gleaners coming and going more than usual? Well, I think they're the ones we saw manning those boats. And gleaners answer to the Forum. If the appearance of the Telophoroi prompted this sudden burst of activity, then Labyrinthos may hold a clue as to what the Forum is planning.
I wonder if they're just stockpiling resources. Or
Well,
if
they
they
probably-
Go
are,
to bunker. Go.
yeah, bunkering up for the end of the world.
Time to go for a swim, either way. Good thing Alpha Lode's not here.
Indeed. Or Oriache.
Yeah.
We should tell the others what we've learned about the Gleaners. Go on ahead to the Nomenon. I'll join you in a moment. Master Dickon will want his cups back. I was wondering why we were just walking off with the man's coffee cups.
I had to zoom out, find the stadium.
I just used the drop-down list on the left. Welcome back. Been for a walk and cleared your head, have you? Not exactly. We did some impromptu investigating and turned up information on the Gleaners. It makes sense. The Gleaners take their requests directly from institutions and bureaucrats. But as you say, they ultimately answer to the Forum. A sudden and significant increase in Gleaner trafficking and cargo. It certainly gives the impression of an overarching plan being put into motion. Let us see what theory we can build from the facts. As Ishtola observed earlier, Nomenon's archives appear to contain no information concerning the final days. Coupled with what they have learned at the last stand, we can be reasonably sure that most Sharlayans know nothing of that particular period of ancient history. Yet my father and his colleagues are not only familiar with the final days, but are also somehow certain that the destruction being perpetrated by the Telophori is wholly unlike those apocalyptic events. Moreover, the Forum claims to be so occupied by a duty of such pressing importance that they saw fit to unanimously deny Eorzea's request for aid. And now, the Gleaners, official agents of the state, have been mobilized on an unprecedented scale. I do not think it a stretch to conclude that the Gleaners' recent activities are in service to the Forum's secretive ends. Unless they're gathering crystals to do a summoning.
Oh boy.
In which case, our next course of action seems obvious. We visit Labyrinthos and assess the situation for ourselves. And if we're lucky, the Gleaners will be far more receptive to our questions. I'm going with option 2. Oh, I would hate to spoil the surprise. As for myself, there are a few more subjects I would like to research. I may join you later, but feel free to leave behind your borrowed books and be on your way. I'll see to it that each is returned to its proper place. That would be a great help. Thank you, Raha.
He can't swim either.
Let's head down the stairs over there, and I'll show you where the entrance is. Before I talk to Alisaie, I need to AFK for just a moment. I will be right back.
Okay.
Entrance? That's no. I wanted to go swimming.
Hey, I'm back. Alright, I'm back.
Oh my.
Welcome back.
Ready? Labyrinthos is not too far from here, but you may find the path a bit disorienting. I'll take the lead, so stay close. Follow Alisaie and try not to fall behind. That is not a brisk walk.
Mm-mm. She may end up running, I guess.
Maybe.
I don't know, but my normal walk's overtaking her.
Well, she's tiny. Now we run. Try to keep up. Still running faster than you, Alizé. Although that could be because Peloton is activated.
Yeah.
Good guess on the correct direction, KJ.
Oh,
I
I'm
think we
right
started
behind her.
before we did.
Yeah, a couple seconds before.
Ah, I gotcha.
I've been trying to make sure I drop back far enough for you guys all get the yeah, the Paleoton.
Well, you're giving us an idea of exactly where we're about to have to go, so we're not going to lose her.
Yeah.
Here we are, through this door and down the stairs. You did remember to attune to the shard back there, didn't you? It will make your life much easier if you need to come back in a hurry. Otherwise, we should keep moving. Yes, we have attuned to the Aetheryte. I'm guessing that tunnel to the side is going to be important later since it seems to lead directly into the forum.
You can go in the front doors too.
Ah. We're all here now, yes? I've taken the liberty of securing permission for our group's descent. Right, everyone onto the lift and down we go.
Deep beneath the scholar's city shines a false sun within a fabricated sky. In any age exist those who consider the floor an extension of their bookshelves, and this vault's architects surely belonged to that special breed. If the stack grows too high, start a new one. If no room remains, then make more rooms. A simple solution at first. and
Those
then
boxes
bit
had
by
crystals
bit,
in them.
A profound
Yep.
transformation. Knowledge buried beneath knowledge, a growing, creeping labyrinth from which there is no escape.
It's ginormous.
Mm-hmm.
An ecosystem.
And it's basically a biosphere.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. No wonder they're
Or a
not working.
biodome.
Yep.
Not what you expected. I must admit, the artifice is very convincing. But I assure you that we are beneath Sharlayan itself. The breeze you feel, the flowing waters you hear, all created by the hand of man.
The island is volcanic, you see, and once upon a time this great hollow must have been a reservoir for magma. It was discovered some 400 years ago, at which point it was repurposed as a storage facility for scrolls and samples and such. Renovations have continued, with nigh on no interruption to this day, with the lower levels still undergoing expansion.
Aren't those people gleaners?
Aye, judging by their dress. They are said to work alone as a rule, but 'twould seem that rule is being enthusiastically broken today.
And I saw the first evidence of a buddy person on the source just now.
It may be as
Yeah,
you
one of the
suspected,
gleaners.
that they are
Mhm.
engaged in a task apart from the norm.
Let's spread out and get some answers then. Did you call to me just now? No. How odd. I must be a bit dizzy from the descent. I'll be fine, I'm sure. Let's get to work, shall we?
I'm trying to remember. There was something different about the way the echo works for Kryl than it does for us. But I don't remember what that was.
I don't remember either. This is ginormous. Like, I just looked at the map. It is huge.
Indeed. I would also like to question their sanity building a repository of anything in a magma column.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm sure they diverted any other active stuff.
Okay.
Maybe.
That would be very, very difficult.
I don't know, just some reforming rocks and whatnot, and go out to the ocean and get more island.
You know what I'm doing? Hauling books and ore and fauna. If it needs hauling, I haul it. Every decade or so, they take stock in Labyrinthos, and they take stock in Labyrinthos. Sort and tidy up the inventory. Never seen an operation like this before, though. They just did one a few summers ago, even. Then, with no warning at all, this mess gets dropped in our laps. Orders from on high. Damned if I know the reason. Could be they're changing the layout, eh? Preparing for the next big expansion. Your exchange with Dobbin has taught you that about taking stock in Labyrinthos. Let me think. The Rhea seeds should be item 1058. Cumin seeds 1059. Snurbbleberry 1060. Or were they 1061? My head feels like it's stuffed with mako grass. Why more loads to take out than carry in? Why do all of this at once and risk mixing it up? What if someone mistakes the Kurthian carrots for Girabanian carrots? What then? Your exchange with Teve has taught you about large shipments coming in and out of Labyrinthos. So the Gleaners have been told to do stuff, but they haven't been told why. You're here to help or give me more headaches? Better you don't have a look... Because you don't have the look of a gleaner, and I'm in no mood for idle chatter. One of my colleagues was so exhausted he took a tumble and crashed into a pile of crates. Now I have a pack of marmots running loose. Your exchange with Ernville has taught you about exhausted gleaners. Ah, thank you. Any luck? What tales do the Gleaners have to tell? So this grand operation began without warning. And for every item they bring in, they're sending more inventory somewhere else. That would explain the haggard faces I've been seeing. We were right. The Forum is definitely up to something. And they're turning Labyrinthos upside down in the process. We would do well to learn more of what specifically the Gleaners are being tasked to do, as well as who has tasked them to do it. If you're game, I have an idea. Okay, I don't know about you guys, but I just kneeled down, I guess, to better hear what Kryle's saying.
So did
Me
I.
Did one of the gleaners you questioned say something about escaped marmots? Perhaps if you were to help him capture said creatures, he might be inclined towards a more friendly and enlightening conversation. In the meantime, I will turn my charms upon this gleaner here. We can compare notes afterwards. Happy hunting. Where y'all headed?
A sightseeing spot.
Oh, okay. I didn't even see it. I will be over there in a minute. You wish to help me find the marmots? I have nothing suitable to pay you for your services, but if you're offering out of the goodness of your heart, I would welcome the assistance. The name's Aaronville, friend. Specialist in the collection of live specimens. That said, the capture of these Nagaxian marmots is a trial I've no desire to repeat. Grizzled mice, they call them. For a mercy, there are no other marmot species on this tier at present, so there should be no mistaking our little fugitives. If you happen to catch stuff them in a sack. Gently, of course. Where to begin, you wonder? I've not seen any scampering around here, so we'll need to widen our search in the surrounding forest. Be on your guard. There are beasts out there that won't hesitate to prey on a marmot or you. I'll search the trees to the west. The eastern part of the forest is all yours. Good luck. I found a grizzled mouse. Chirp squeak. Barely have you readied the sack when the grizzled mouse scampers off into the underbrush. That's a large thing I'm running straight towards. You gonna fight me, Mr. Troll? Yes, yes you are. He looks like one of the things from where the wild things are.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he does. And that one. Is this one? There
Over
we go.
this way.
Bahamut casts Smite. It's called a rat sack.
They're slippery little buggers.
Mm-hmm. The rodent nimbly evades your grasp before once more disappearing into the trees. At this rate, we're going to bring him back as marmots and have him a list of all the different carnivores he's going to have to replace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got one rat in a sack, and we're gonna need you to get 17 coyotes, 5 trolls, and 3 dragons. Oh, did we not mention that we specialize in killing things when we took this job? Maybe we should have. Sure.
Corner, yes.
It's a video game. Fat lot of good that does sometimes.
True.
More prepared for its speed this time, you succeed in closing the sack over your elusive quarry.
We only had to capture one? That's funny.
Oh, and it just dawned on me. We're in a new zone.
Ah.
There are aether currents, and there's one right there.
Oh, cool.
Guarded by a couple of trolls, but
Just squeak on by.
Chirp, chirp.
they know better.
Yeah, they had a vantage point of us killing the other dudes.
The monsters where the wild things are know better. They just look scary after all.
Mm-hmm.
I liked the jump to give maximum height for damage.
I had to let us take a little bit of damage so we look like we did something out here.
Yeah. Keeps me in a job, I guess.
We might want to roll around in the dirt a little bit. Look like we've done a little bit of work. How did you fare? I tracked down 3 of the pack, which leaves 1 unaccounted for. And there's the odd marmot out. Wait here a moment while I put our friends in a holding cage. Thankfully, the marmots seem to be unharmed. They've held up well in isolation, but it's too much too soon to release them into the much too soon to release them into the habitat. It's a good thing we were able to recapture them swiftly. You have my thanks. I'm going with option 2. That's for the Forum to decide. They're the guiding authority behind Labyrinthos, after all. Yeah, this job was but one small part of this great inventory of theirs. Suitable for consumption and easy to breed. Those were the 2 conditions I was given for the stock I was instructed to procure. I don't know what the Forum has planned for these creatures, but at the very least, I doubt they'll be served for dinner today or tomorrow. There you are. Is this the gleaner you mentioned? The one who was looking for lost marmots? Interesting company you keep, friend. Who are you folk, anyway? I'm Kryle of the Students of Baldessian. The others are my associates. Truth be told, the Forum's decisions of late have not sat entirely well with us. That is why we've made the descent into Labyrinthos. We're hoping that by seeing those decisions put into action, we might more fully understand their reasoning. Wise and practical. Never hurts to try to gain a broader perspective, does it? Anyway, duty calls. Other animals to capture and enclosures to empty. Once again, I'm sorry that I can't offer you more for your services. Did you learn anything new from your friend there? So we've confirmed that the order for this ambitious operation did indeed come directly from the Forum. However, the Gleaners have not been informed as to its purpose. I'd say that fits with everything we've learned so far. We also discovered that when the operation was begun, the Forum contacted the Gleaners' guild ship and put their people to this great work some 4 days after the Tofferai made their chilling declaration. As seasoned travelers, the Gleaners kept abreast of news from every corner of the world out of necessity. Thus am I inclined to trust that their calendar of events is accurate. Altogether, it gives a distinct impression that this undertaking was a sudden and unexpected development. Yet I find it hard to believe that such a comprehensive restructuring of Labyrinthos and its archives could have been planned in so brief a window. Nay, this plan was long in the making. They were but awaiting the right time to put it into effect. And the Tofferai's declaration was what set it all in motion? It seems likely, but let us not leap to conclusions just yet. For the moment, I suggest we conduct a wider investigation of Labyrinthos. The more facilities we visit, the more pieces of the puzzle we stand to find out. In that case, how about we head to Archeon? From there, we can reach the lower. That was an ominous sound.
Mm-hmm.
Kryl, what's wrong? I'm fine, truly. The sudden descent has left me with a bit of a headache, that's all. Nothing that will stop me from soldiering on. Let's be about it then. At least allow me to take the lead. I'm fairly certain I remember the way to Archeon. We follow the path to the east through the forest. Where you were chasing after that mouse, or marmot, was it? Anyway, 'tis the trolls you need to watch out for.
Okay. Two things. They didn't point out the fact that we actually learned another piece of information from that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And that was he was told to get something that could breed easy and easy to eat, basically. Rabbits,
Yep.
chickens, something like that. So apparently that's what the marmots are.
Yeah.
And then number two is that sound that she's having, is that the same sound that they had in the last days?
That was why I just asked. That was an ominous sound.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yes, the fact that they are gathering food stock is a important piece of information.
That they haven't pointed out yet.
True. It's possible that it hasn't dawned on them that that's what it means. Of course, I mean, I guess it could also mean that they're also gathering predators and they need animals to feed them. But it does sound like they're gathering food stock.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds more like they're just getting their own land-based arc going.
Mm-hmm. Behold, the Archeon. As Numenon serves as Sharlayan's literary archive, so does this structure house the city's wealth of material data. The architecture, too, is similar. This building you seek is merely the upper entrance, and an access point to the vaults carved into the cliffside itself. Within those vast rooms are stored countless samples and specimens, as well as the detailed records which describe them. In a manner of speaking, the Archeon contains a physical history of Sharlayan's unwavering dedication to the accumulation of knowledge. Well, we won't learn anything of value standing out here. Let us proceed into the main building and speak with the custodian.
Yeah, if he'll let us.
And my chat says that Kryl's echo is she can sense traces of the person's soul and track it back through the life stream. As she was the one who helped us track down,
Midfield,
Ishtola.
yeah,
yeah.
and Ishtola. Yeah, so she could also be hearing the live stream speaking too, I guess. That's also a possibility.
Yeah, who knows what they got going on down here.
I should mention, they said this quite some while ago, not in response to the questions just raised.
Gotcha.
So, I knew this guy was going to be an Ellison. Greetings. We're here to peruse the Archeon's vaults. Peruse? You are clearly not gleaners, then. Might I ask your affiliation? We belong to the students of Baldessian, but is that relevant? I was given to believe that the vaults, those open to the public at least, were open to the public. Ordinarily, yes, that would be the case. At present, however, access is restricted. Only persons directly involved in the reorganization efforts are permitted to enter. Not us, then. I suppose we had better move along to another facility. Yeah, that was why I specified that you'd said that earlier. It wasn't said in response to Kryl having a headache. So... This building has a lift which connects to the middle tier, yes? Might we at least make use of that? That service has also been suspended, I am afraid. For the time being, priority has been given over to the conveyance of inventory. What? So this is as far as we can go. I apologize for the inconvenience. Please come again after our restructuring operation is concluded. By that time, it will be too late. And we are so close to getting answers.
Ooh, bastard.
We need to rethink our approach. Let us step outside a moment, shall we? Students of Baldessian.
We need some ninja action going on. Oh, but he's the gun guy.
We're at an impasse, and we have no other leads. I should like to pursue this one further. But I doubt that our stone-faced custodian will be swayed by heartfelt pleas. We must seek other means to access the lower levels. It is likely that the people in this area are involved in the restructuring in one way or another. If we were to ingratiate ourselves, they might allow us to accompany them on the lift. Let us ask around. Surely someone is in need of a few strong backs to lighten the load. By taking the lift? Oh no, we're just students. They won't let us into the Archeon, even though we found... Actually, we have no idea what it is we found. There's no record of such a creature anywhere, but it was wandering around Tranquility, and so we thought to donate it to the vaults. Oddest little squeal, don't you think? Anyway, I suppose we'll have to take care of it until the Archeon is open again. What's in the box?
Scree! Scree!
That was the first thing that came to mind,
Me
but
too.
yeah.
It just squeals in there because it's in the box. If it's seen us, it'd be going scree, scree.
The box alters the sounds.
Exactly.
Yeah. What's that? Take you down on the lift with me? Sorry, but not a chance. I've been up and down all day, and only now have I finally found a spare moment to rest. I did see a gleaner fellow heading out the gate there, though, shouldering a large pack, engaged in some manner of task. Maybe he'll be heading down below after he's done with it, whatever it is he's doing. Well, look who it is. Quiet, you'll frighten it away. Ah, it's you again. Don't mean to be rude, but I'm in the middle of another task. The Cloudkin I need to capture is close. Very close. You wish to help me with this too? You spend your time in unusual ways, my friend. Still, 2 hunters are generally better than 1. Very well. The canal here is a common gathering spot for birds of all kinds. But the one I am after today is the hornbill. Its feathers are green, and its cry a distinctive call. Single it out and shoot it with this sleeping dart.
Caw, caw.
The effects are short-lived, so I'll lie in wait around the riverbank to claim our quarry. Be sure to hit the right one.
And I thought he was done talking, that's why I caw-cawed. We have these.
Search your surroundings for the hornbill. You may move the camera, and okay, it's one of these things. Alright, we're looking for a green bird that says call, call.
Waka waka. Cuckoo. Okay, it's the one on the far right for me.
Yeah, it was on the far right from me, too. Although it took me several shots to hit the stupid thing.
A fair shot. Nicely done. Let me truss this one up and I'll make my way over to you.
Need to hurry up and get down there before someone chews it or eats it.
Or it drowns.
Yeah.
There you are. Any new revelations?
So you met with that gleaner again, this time to capture a hornbill.
Never mind it again.
I
Start talking
understand
before the scene
catching and
was
bringing
over.
in creatures from the outside. But what's the point of chasing after ones already here?
Oh, it's a simple thing, really. Occasionally, we remove specimens no longer needed for study, or those we've had difficulty raising. But we can't simply turn them loose. Safely returning such creatures to their native habitats is another facet of a cleaner's duties. But not in this case, I'm afraid. I've been asked to bring the bird below.
The restricted section in the lower levels of Labyrinthos. Open only to a select few researchers handpicked by the Forum. The projects down there are the subject of rumor and hearsay. Forbidden magics. Advanced technologies that can never be allowed to fall into outside hands. Even Archons are not privy to the truth. Those who are, the researchers involved in this secretive work, are not permitted to walk freely in the city, and are instead required to live in isolated quarters.
What could a facility subject to such strict security protocols possibly need with a hornbill? An experiment?
Possibly. I wasn't afforded an explanation. But judging by the requisition list given to me and my colleagues, I doubt it's for any kind of advanced research. I'd be more inclined to believe we were making preparations to migrate to the south. Mericidia or thereabouts.
What? Why would you say that?
Much of the flora and fauna we were asked to procure could serve as reliable sources of sustenance. They're comparatively hardy species too, able to endure harsh climates. And among them are specimens known to be effective in improving soil quality and purifying water.
When you put it that way, migration does sound like a reasonable assumption.
That's all it is, though. An assumption. Through our tasks, we gleaners glimpse only bits and pieces of the Forum's plans. Our prime concern is that our requisitions, be they living or otherwise, are properly preserved for the knowledge of future generations. Now, I really must be going. I regret that I cannot reward you as you deserve.
Perhaps you might reward us after a fashion then. It is imperative that we reach the lower levels. And seeing as you are already set to descend with your assigned cargo, mayhap we could accompany you as your assistants.
I'm afraid that won't be possible. Once the animals have been prepared for transport, we send them down separately via the lift. I will of course follow after to make my report, but I can hardly pass you off as porters when there's nothing left to carry.
Indeed. Pray forget I said anything.
How do you feel about climbing? If you've strength and the courage to brave it, then there is another way down. This path leads to the 33rd facet, a mine shaft excavated during one of our expansions of Labyrinthos. While I cannot guarantee that the passage is safe to traverse, it should provide access to the medial circuit below.
I never even knew such a place existed. Thank you. This is the perfect solution.
You're quite welcome, but consider yourselves warned. If the going proves too treacherous, you do well to turn back. I bid you good day.
I'm just totally absorbed by the
Well,
spare
turning back
pair
is
of
hard
boots
enough, but not
attached
when
to
we've
his
come this
backpack.
far. Let's go and take a look at this
I
mine
know, I
shaft.
keep wondering about them.
It makes sense. He's out here traipsing through the woods. When he comes back to civilization, he wants to swap to less muddy boots.
Mm-hmm.
Or those are his waterproof boots for when he has to get in the water. And they're gathering up animals that seem useful for reclaiming devastated areas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when they all go walking off towards the cave, why don't we go with them? Instead of just watch them.
So that we have to traverse the world, KJ. And I will admit, I have no idea why, when I'm going over a cliff, I jump before I go over the edge.
So you can make it to the other side. Did we already check this area for what's called? Yeah.
Down below. This must be it. The entrance to the mine shaft. It's faint, but I hear something moving within. Creatures homed there by the researchers, you think? Well, slavering beasts aside, we will need to watch our footing. We should tighten our straps and such before we continue. Assuming everyone's tightened their straps and checked their gear, then I say we head on in. Given the terrain ahead, though, it might be wise to leave some distance between us. We don't want to be stumbling over each other if it comes to a fight. Take it slow, and don't forget to check your surroundings from time to time. We can meet up again at the other end of the tunnel. Big cave is big.
Yeah.
I'm heading this way for a reason. Apparently there's an aether current in this direction. Maybe.
It is south.
Yeah, it's right here. And I don't know if I'll ever get used to being able to mount in caves.
I know. WoW taught us like that hard and strong.
Angry mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't science fiction taught us to stay away from sentient fungus?
It also looks like it's a part grasshopper or cricket.
I have to see why Ishtola is standing separate. The mine shaft was infested with mithril caps. Sort of research project, I wonder? Suppose they are a most unusual creature. Why did they develop such long limbs when all they do is shuffle about in narrow tunnels? Everyone seems to have made it through without incident. Nothing of consequence, at least. And as promised, the tunnel has delivered us to the medial circuit. As I recall, this tier is where they keep a wide variety of samples for agricultural productions. If Urnville's assumptions hold true, the specimens are being collected in preparation for a great migration. Then we should see evidence of such plans in the area's research projects. Let's follow the path to the nearest farming facility and see what we see.
Were those the grapes that are supposed to be getting the new high definition?
I think they've already been corrected, but they were already supposed to be high definition, but they were really, really blocky to begin with. I think they are been made to match the ones at Crystarium now. Aha! Now I know where we are. This is Marial Agronomics. Labyrinthos is host to a wide variety of vegetation, which allows us to conduct studies on cultivation methods utilized in foreign lands. And it is this facility which coordinates and oversees those efforts. The fruits of their research go to feed their Labyrinthos colleagues, or so I hear. More notable successes might make it to Agora. Food so exotic you'd be hard-pressed to guess their origin, let alone how they might taste. Indeed, mystery vegetables without a name, only a list of nutritional benefits scribbled on a card. I see no gleaners hereabouts, yet these workers seem to share that same sense of urgency. 'Tis possible they know something of the Forum's plans and their underlying motivations. Worth looking into, wouldn't you say? See what you can coax from the workers. The rest of us will do the same. Or cast about for useful clues.
We're gonna get kicked out.
And for what we've seen of Charlian so far, we're not going to get kicked out. We're going to be sternly asked to leave. But we don't have to leave. Oh, hello there. We weren't expecting visitors. Not with the use of the lift being restricted. How did you make it down here anyway? Magic. The mine shaft, you say? Well, you're a much hardier soul than I. Under normal circumstances, I'd reward such tenacity with a guided tour of the fields, but I'm afraid the Forum has us filling order lists a malm long. Massive yet detailed requests, literal wagon loads of crop samples, and hardly any time to put them together. When I first heard of this grand reorganization, I assumed we would be shuffling around old stock to make room for new. Then came the orders for ridiculous quantities of seeds we've already thoroughly researched. Passing strange, eh? I pressed for an explanation and was met with vague assurances that all would be revealed in due course. Not the most satisfying answer. Do I have aught to be taken down below? More than I can carry, and then some. Most of our stock is sent off via cargo lift, but some has to be earmarked for aerial transport. Hence the stack of crates atop that hill over there. Gods, hauling that lot up the slope was a job and a half. What crops are we raising? Well, as you can see, this one is a variety of grape. Only needs a good source of sunlight to grow, and the conditions here are nothing short of perfect. Hardly surprising, given that it's native to the particular locale and the very place upon which Labyrinthos was modeled, a region of South Ilsabard. It boasts remarkable habitat diversity, allowing for myriad flora and fauna to thrive. Chilly peaks in the north give way to swaths of temperate plains, which in turn transition into a hot, humid coastline. Such bountiful territory is ever contested, as you might expect. Used to be called Corvos before the Imperials renamed it Locus Aminius. The Forum saw it not as a prize, however, but as a researcher's ideal environment, one whose climates we strove to recreate within the confines of Labyrinthos. It's since provided a rich foundation for countless experiments and cultivation. Starting to sound like there might have been an agreement with Garlemald at some point. Like, stay out of this business and we'll give you Corvos.
Yeah.
But why would they want it?
The the whatchamacall peoples, the Arligans technology, maybe.
Maybe. The labels on these crates tell the story of their contents. Bundles of common seeds and saplings accompanied by sheaves of reports. Glowing flowers. The glowing flower is going to try to kill me, isn't it?
Hard to look away, isn't it?
Or start talking to us.
But they're more than pretty flowers. Heart blooms are attuned to ambient emotion.
Mood flowers.
You don't seem convinced, but believe me, it's true. This ashen grey, for instance, it mirrors the anxiety and urgency of those working nearby as they rush to fulfill sudden orders. Intense feelings like those spur the petals to change colour. Bright glowing hues in the presence of joy, dark, subdued shades for frustration or despair. Yet even with the collected wisdom of Charlian at our disposal, we've yet to identify the underlying principle of this empathic effect. And there are other mysteries besides. Although the flower is extraordinarily long-lived, its low reproductive rate has made it difficult to find younger populations growing in the wild. With too few sightings to map its distribution, and no closely related species to track, we've been unable to pinpoint its land of origin. To further complicate matters, every culture, even dimly aware of its existence, has given it a different name and mythos. Our attempts to study it via the historical record have been an exercise in frustration. As an avid botanist myself, I should one day like to unravel the Heartbloom's secrets. But I'm afraid other duties must take precedence. I will leave you to your thoughts.
Have you learned aught of interest? A flower that reacts to one's feelings? Strange. I must say, I have never heard of such a thing.
This is all very fascinating. But as it stands, we fail to gain any significant insight into the Forum's undertaking.
Indeed. While there is certainly enough activity to support Erenville's supposition that a priority has been placed on improving food production, unfortunately for our investigation, these workers were never informed as to how their duties serve the master plan.
If only we could interrogate the Forum members directly. Isn't that the entrance to the Archaean? Look, there. I think that's Erenville.
A little difficult to tell from here, but I think you're right. He did say he was coming down to make his report.
Erenville receives his orders from the Forum. Would it not follow, then, that the superior to whom he reports is a Forum member, or at least a close associate?
You mean to eavesdrop on their conversation? What of the risks?
Ours alone to bear. We won't interfere with Erenville's work, nor will he be implicated as an accomplice. If you're not comfortable taking part, I can do this alone.
Nay. I said myself that I wished to know Father's intentions. And no answers will be forthcoming should we simply ask nicely.
We can apologize later, should it come to it. Right now, we need every crumb of information we can get our hands on. Consequences be damned.
It might be best if you came along as well. In fact, we should all... Cryer?
Oh, yes. That certainly sounds like a plan.
I'm glad you agree.
Quickly! Erenville is on the move. We need to get closer before we lose him.
Almost. I can almost reach you.
I'm going to guess that she's hearing her grandfather's voice. Or perhaps one of the other students of Baldesia that have disappeared.
Yeah, maybe.
Is Kryl still feeling unwell? I've never seen her so distracted. Keep an eye on her, but keep moving too. We cannot let our quarry slip away.
She's standing right there.
And not paying any attention. Erinville was headed westward along the path outside of Archeon. Come, let's see if we can catch him. Okay, this is a stealth mission.
They will not see us in the well.
That's right.
We'll just think of the beast.
Hold a moment. I have an idea. If memory serves, that colossal wall-like structure is Logisticon Beta, one of Labyrinthos' climate control centers. It should have its own lifts, and with which one could access the upper or lower tiers. If I were an agent of the Forum, it would make a very convenient meeting place. But even if we happen to find Ernveld in the company of said agent, we cannot expect them to reveal issues of importance as we nonchalantly stroll past. Nay, we shall have to remain undetected. If only Graha and his vanish spell were here. Oh, but there are other ways of turning invisible. Hippity hop, my little toads. Goodness.
Well, there you go, Zora.
Unaccustomed to transfiguration? Worry not, it will wear off in the passage of time. I suggest you and your green companions hop along and catch up with Ernville. Should you feel the magic's fading, return to me and I will refresh the enchantment. And what am I to do in the meantime? Wait here with me. In your current state of mind, you'd be as like to leap into the jaws of a predator as you would anything else. Which reminds me, where are the creatures hereabouts? In that form, you are essentially defenseless. You have changed into a toad. You must remain transfigured in order to progress with your quest objectives. You will return to your transfigured status if you move too far away. Look to your map for the transfiguration area of effect. Speak with the Stola to restore or prolong the effects. Ribbit. Ribbit, ribbit, ribbit. Alpha Toad and Alitoad are now accompanying you. Keep them at your side. Yeah. I wish their nameplates had changed.
I know, that would be funny. Oh, I thought we were like in such a hurry. It's like 30 minutes. I was like,
hopefully we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
I'm trying to catch up to you.
I didn't even notice it was a red circle we were heading for. I was just riding along through the pink.
Okay, this is hilarious.
Well, I thought this reset our stuff, but it didn't.
Hmm?
Well, that thing, what are we supposed to do here in this? The circle.
Talk to Alpha Node and Alizé.
Oh.
Ribbit? Ribbit, ribbit? Alpha Toad attempts and fails to shake his head, but you nevertheless understand that he is telling you this is the wrong way.
So I keep moving forward. That was dumb.
Ribbit, 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 ribbit. Alitoad turns to face to the north. Perhaps she's suggesting you cross the bridge.
Well, yeah, okay, so crossing the bridge was right.
And then go north.
Unless she meant the bridge up there to the north. I think she meant the bridge up there to the north. I don't see a way to get to the north from down here.
This is why we have 20 minutes, 27 minutes or whatever.
Well, that and we have to avoid the predators. Because they might eat us.
This is the one north. Goes to a cutscene.
Oh, KJ found a way the other way.
Oh, yeah. Give them a wide enough berth distance, you're safe.
Like how our pets are still around.
Mm-hmm. It'd be funnier if they'd turn to toads too.
Yeah.
I trust you will find your compensation to be more than satisfactory. We wish to make clear that we are pleased with the efficiency and thoroughness of your work. So much so that we have come bearing new tasks in need of your competent hand.
Another lengthy list. If I may speak frankly, the Gleaners have been pushed to the point of collapse by your unending demands. We are not familiars to be exploited. We are Charlean scholars, and we deserve an explanation for this unseemly treatment. What warrants such urgency?
In an age long past, Charlean was charged with a momentous duty. And now that word of the final days hangs heavy in the air, the time has come for us to fulfill that charge. I can say no more, but I promise you this. All will be revealed in due course. And when it has, you will understand that your toil was in service to the greatest good.
Then I will do your bidding. For now. But unless you wish the Gleaners to rise up in protest, I advise you to offer tangible improvements for our working conditions. Your promised revelation does nothing to address present circumstances.
A fair point. Your concerns will be conveyed to the Forum.
I hope that was informative. you may consider my debt to you repaid in full. While I do have my reservations about the Forum, I want to believe that they have our best interests at heart. Which is why I'm reassured that you're busy sniffing out the truth of things. We can ill afford to place all our eggs in one basket, this master plan of theirs, without first understanding the risks involved.
I like that bunny guy.
Mm-hmm.
Wait! How did you know it was us?
If you mean to impersonate a toad, try studying the real thing. And don't try to fool an expert.
I will be right back.
All right.
Sorry about that. I'm back.
No problem. I suppose we should have known a gleaner who specializes in animal procurement would not be so easily deceived. Yet he seemed inclined to put his trust in us all the same. More importantly, perhaps, we've discovered a new piece to this puzzle. This momentous duty the Forum agent mentioned. Charlian has been called to action, and the Tel'authorized Declaration was the catalyst. Whatever change it is that they hope to fulfill, they deem it of sufficient import to disrupt all of Labyrinthos, not to mention ignore Eosia's request for aid. What duty could warrant the direct involvement of the Forum and commitment of all of its resources? Judging by what we just heard, none of the gleaners were offered any kind of explanation. At this point, it seems abundantly clear that we'll learn nothing new by pressing them further. We should head back to Ishtola and Kryl for the moment and see what they think of this.
I think there's a thing down there. Aether. 123 southwest.
hear it. It must be on top of this wall. Or in this building? Nope. Can't go in the building.
Right there. It's on top of this wall, the door of the building.
Gotcha, I see it. That's quite a view. No Kryl. Welcome back. I trust you found Erenville then? Interesting. I had a feeling you would learn something important, even if that something was simply a confirmation that no one knows much of anything. We should share this with Kryl, then discuss how we'd like to proceed. Assuming we find her back at the farm, she was still behaving oddly, so I bade her return and rest there. Perhaps not the best decision in hindsight. Would you mind checking near those flowers she was so entranced by? The rest of us can survey the more distant areas, just in case she decided to wander. I suspect that this one is down below.
Yeah. Down over there. Behind that wall, probably.
Now it could be over here.
Yep, right there. Behind that building.
Yeah, I saw it. Apparently I managed to not click it.
Well, excuse me, I saw you looking at yourself.
Ah, I clicked myself instead of it. Okay. I would say that it's odd, but no. When I try to click things, I often click the wrong thing in here.
I do too.
Me too. I'm usually clicking one of you guys.
Same.
Although it's been less now that I'm a little taller.
I would say it's more so for me now that you're taller, but it's not really. I'm still just clicking emo every chance I get.
Sorry.
Oh, it's not your fault.
Oh gosh, if you stop standing on the stuff, you know?
Whatever.
If I don't click emo, I'm clicking my own pet sitting on my shoulder, so. I feel like you shouldn't have done that, Kryle.
That's probably going to piss them off.
For you, the spell will keep it from wilting. She said you would need it for the journey ahead.
Who's she? Are you hearing Heidelin now?
Will you speak with her now? I cannot hope to match Minfilia's clarity, of course, but...
Thank you. Do not worry. She has lent me her body for only a moment. Just as I could not save the first from the flood of light, it has become arduous for me to interact with the physical world without assistance. Though I might converse with you for a time, the incorporeal form I assumed on the ship would be incapable of casting even the simplest enchantment. It is in the depths of the ethereal sea, the place to which all life returns, where my influence is greatest. After Minfilia's sacrifice on the first, it was to the sea, here in the source, where I ferried her soul. I wished that gentle spirit to find rest in the world she loved so well. Her, and another who may yet have a part to play, though that will depend on you. Take the flower, walk free, for you are free to go where you wish, to believe what you will. That bloom will be your guide, test and proof of your conviction. In darkness, seek joy. Surrender not to sadness, and see beyond despair. Walk free, and bear the light for others to follow. Together, raise it aloft and let it shine, till the end, blinding and radiant.
That was all too brief. Already she seems so far away. My apologies if I startled you. Ever since we began our descent into Labyrinthos,
Okay, good, we
I
put it
had
in that
sensed
pocket.
another's will, straining to reach out. Even with my particular talents, though, I was unable to make a connection at first. So weak and tenuous it was. Once I took hold of that wispy thread, imagine my surprise to discover it was Heidelin herself. Needless to say, it seemed wise to learn what we could before letting go. Her answers were more cryptic than I would have liked, but at least she left us with a guide of sorts, that unusual flower. Yes, we are definitely making progress.
You can't be serious. We've done nothing wrong.
Master Fortuno, what business has the Forum with us?
Obstruction and suppression, apparently.
Mistress Baldessian, our records show you facilitated the Scions' entrance into Sharlayan by claiming them as assistants for your organization. We are aware of your investigations. After alerting the major institutions to the presence of potential troublemakers, we received word from an Archean custodian, a group operating under the auspices of the students, skulking about Labyrinthos and engaging in clandestine behavior.
Clandestine? We may not have entered Sharlayan as Scions, but we did naught to conceal our identities. Our only purpose in this city is to seek the truth. I can think of no reason why our actions should warrant the Forum's intervention.
'Tis not our way to discourage the pursuit of knowledge. But the timing of such pursuits must be considered, not to mention their potential impact. With the world in chaos, we, the true caretakers of wisdom, have committed ourselves to an undertaking that demands the utmost discretion. And we will not risk its success by turning a blind eye to disruptive foreign elements in our midst.
What, then, is to be our fate? Will you put us on a ship back to Eorzea?
The Forum will convene to examine your case. The results of said inquiry will determine your future in this city. As for your absent companion, he has already been detained.
Graha! But why? Is reading a crime now, too?
Reading is encouraged, celebrated even. Not, however, of the volumes shelved in the restricted section of the library.
Refusing to comply will only make matters worse. Let us instead treat this as an opportunity to open a dialogue with the Forum.
Silence is often one's best defense. I would advise against prolonging the proceedings with frivolous discourse. But enough. This is not the place for debate. The rostra await.
Their hats are stupid looking.
I was careless.
We would have been detained regardless. This way, at least, we managed to stay together.
Well, it's like graduates that
I
haven't
trust your time
graduated
within the
yet.
Forbidden Archives was well spent.
The Forum will come to order.
Well, those are
This
squaring that
inquiry is
around,
now
right?
in session. As Speaker-elect, I will be presiding over the day's proceedings. Master Fortuno, would you be so kind as to restate the matter which compelled you to summon your colleagues with such urgency?
As you are all aware, we recently denied Eorzea's request for Sharlayan assistance. Since then, certain individuals dissatisfied with our decision have taken it upon themselves to interfere with our work. They entered our nation masquerading as associates of the students of Baldessian. But these malcontents are better known as the Scions of the Seventh Dawn. These militants wield influence with both the Eorzean and Eastern alliances, and are inextricably involved with the crises presently afflicting the world at large. Loose in our city, these warmongers sought to meddle with and expose matters of state secret. What are they, if not a dire threat to be expelled?
You have tarnished the good name of the students. Galuf would be ashamed.
Galuf Baldessian was never one to forsake his fellow man. Even if this nation closed every door and retreated from the world, he would have found a way to help the Scions, help every soul of this star fight back against the coming doom.
A terrible enemy stands poised to lay waste to all we hold dear. In the face of such madness, Eorzea reached out to Sharlayan, a respected ally, in the hopes of forming a united front. Was your curt dismissal truly the best you could offer? Or are you so preoccupied with your momentous duty of an age long past that even the end of the world is unworthy of your attention?
Whence came this revelation?
From the mouth of a forum member within fortuitous earshot.
Then it seems your findings support my own. The reason I visited the restricted shelves was to study records of the forum's policy-making process, to better understand the historical trends underlying their most major decisions. At first glance, the positions of neutrality in war and the accumulation of knowledge above all else appear constant and consistent, the unchanging pillars of Sharlayan society. And once upon a time, I might have left it at that. These days, however, I am more attuned to the subtleties of governance, and so I noticed something odd. From a particular point in time, the purpose of these policies shifted. No longer was knowledge preserved for the benefit of society. Rather, society was to be gradually reshaped to ensure the preservation of knowledge. The most conspicuous and telling change was the one which befell Labyrinthos. Once little more than an oversized storehouse, an enormous allocation of funds saw it transformed into an advanced research and archival facility. I also discovered a fascinating account on the finances of our Dravanian colony. The settlement attracted students from far and wide, and the connections and tuition fees thus acquired were funneled into further improvements for the archives. Now, there is no question that our nation's progress is tied to the acquisition of wisdom. Nevertheless, the vast resources diverted for this purpose borders on the obscene. But returning to the matter of when, our change in course appears to have been made some 270 years ago.
The very same period when Sharlayan scholars in the hinterlands began a formal study of the ethereal sea. You found something, did you not? And whatever it was, gave rise to your oh-so-important duty.
Mind your tongue, Archon. If you had seen...
Yes. We are bound by a duty we cannot ignore. Knowing this, what would you have us do? Abandon our vital work and join you on the field of battle? We will never choose the way of the sword. We will fulfill our mission, not through strife and bloodshed, but survival. Come what may, we shall live on. We must.
Do as you must, then. But we Scions will fight until the heavens fall, until our last breath.
Such misguided zeal.
Father, Master Fortuno, I fail to understand the stance you have elected to take. But by the same token, I have yet to find a compelling argument to counter the challenge you put to us in Gridania. Still, in the midst of my uncertainty, I must trust in myself to do what is right, as others have chosen to trust in me. So I will continue, as I always have, weighing the consequences of my every action, and allowing my hope for the future to inform my decisions.
That's quite enough. Have you all forgotten the reason for this assembly?
Skolok Monteshane. He's the head of the Studium and an old friend of my grandfather's.
Honestly, every discussion devolves into some interminable debate. Terrible habit. Let's return to the topic at hand, By their own admission, these Scions have resolved to fight alongside the Eorzean nations against the doom which swift approaches. But there exists no evidence of an attempt to incite our citizens to do the same. Furthermore, while our decision may well have been the correct one, we cannot simply bull our way through these disagreements without inviting doubts or objections. Put yourselves in their place. Who among you would leave a tome unopened if an elder forbid you read it with no reason given? Now, if we're to quell further discontent, then we must conclude this matter with a fair and even hand.
Order! We will have order! Master Monteshane raises some valid points. Keeping such concerns in mind, I propose we enforce the following measures. Until further notice, the students of Baldessian are to cease any and all activities within the domain of Sharlayan. You will also refrain from any further investigation into the Forum's decisions and duties. Failure to comply with these restrictions will result in the immediate expulsion of your Scion associates. Let us put this judgment to a vote. All in favor, raise your hand. I count 51 for and 48 against. The proposal is passed. Students, Scions, you have heard the Forum's judgment. Pray abide by it, or face the consequences. Honored members, I thank you for your time. This inquiry is concluded.
So why can't that guy finish speaking? Like he had a gag order or something.
Like he was getting force choked.
Yeah, exactly.
If I had to guess, there's some kind of enchantment on them that they can't speak of whatever their plan is. Although we have one person at our disposal that should know the answer to these questions. But whether we're actually going to go speak to that person, I don't know.
Well, my other question or thought was maybe they are enthralled by the wisdom one, God,
Maybe.
goddess, God, whatever.
But Ishtola said they began their research of the ethereal sea. They found something. Well, we know the person who was in charge of Charlian's research into the ethereal sea. And that would be Master Matoya herself.
Yeah.
Would also explain why we're hearing the voice of Emmett Selk, because that was his job for the Convocation of 14. He was the master of the ethereal sea, as he said when we fought him. Well, at least we've been allowed to remain in the city, and our endless investigations have not been in vain. We now know that this mysterious duty of theirs began with whatever the Forum discovered in the ethereal sea. With our freedom so sorely curtailed, however, we will struggle to learn aught more of substance here in Charlian.
Kryle's hair was cute though, with her hood down.
Uh-huh. I was surprised that they actually brought her hood down just for that event.
Yeah.
You had to see her angry face, that's why.
The overall picture has grown clearer, yes, but that's in spite of the Forum being so maddeningly vague about this duty of theirs. Why are they so reluctant to explain their actions in plain words? Survival, come what may. Is Father's work so vital that it takes precedence over his own family? Alphanode? Alice? It is you. When I heard you'd been dragged before the Forum, I came as swiftly as I could. I'm so very glad they allowed you to stay. Mother? Amalance Levelier at your service. And you fine people must be the scions of the seventh dawn. How lovely it is to finally meet you.
I like her.
Yeah.
Mother, please, we don't wish to make things difficult for you. If word reaches father that you were here... Oh, bother that. Am I to be chastised for speaking with my own children? I am well aware that you and Master Fortuneau are not at the best of terms at the moment, but I've been absolutely desperate to see my darlings again. You will come by the house, won't you? I have gifts waiting. The timing couldn't be better. As matters stands, we shan't be going anywhere until we discuss matters with Thancred's group and reconsider our options. Go visit your home. We will be back at the annex when you are ready to rejoin us. I'm not sure. What do you think? What a splendid day this has turned out to be. Champion of Eorzea, I insist that you join us. But we must be quick about it. Not for my own benefit, but should my husband return to find you enjoying our hospitality, the servants will be made to suffer the consequences. If you would be so kind as to escort my children to the estate. And then she was gone, and with her any opportunity to protest. Indeed, the matter is settled. Enjoy yourselves, you three. I apologize. My mother is not one to take no for an answer. Still, I am glad, relieved even, to see her in such high spirits. What say you? Though it seems we shall have little enough time to enjoy it, will you accompany us on our visit home? Fine. If we're going, then let's get it over with. But be sure to stay in the entrance hall. No peeking into our private chambers, thank you very much. Why ever not? Your room was always perfectly neat and tidy. Everyone has things they'd rather keep to themselves, don't they? Cherished mementos you couldn't bring yourself to throw away, childhood toys. I mean, never mind. Levelier Estate is that way, straight down the stairs. Come on. Alphino and Alizae are now accompanying you. When Alizae and I were little, this bridge was as far as we were permitted to wander alone. I say alone, but my mother or a servant was always somewhere nearby, keeping a watchful eye. And now look at us, traveling to different countries, different worlds even. As children, Alpha and I would often wait for our father to come home from work. It must have been a day when his meeting ran long, because I remember growing restless and leaning out over the railing to watch the water rush by. Father, of course, arrived at that exact moment, came pounding down the path in a panic, crying out my name. Here you are at last. Please, do come in.
Welcome home, my lady.
What? What are you gawping at? Oh, I suppose I never gave the decor much thought. I'm glad that you approve, I think.
Lord Fortuneau is not to hear of this visit. And I should also like the children to have their gifts, ere my husband makes his return.
As you wish, my lady.
Oh, are our gifts going to be new clothes?
Master Alphino, Mistress
That's what I'm
Alice,
thinking.
if you'd accompany me upstairs.
We shan't be long.
The twins have been sending letters home from time to time, recounting their latest adventures. I am sure they withhold certain details, of course, if only to keep me from worrying. Yet a mother worries all the same. In the early days especially, I tried to support them as best I could, sending the Scion's coin and other such donations. Fortunately, they have found the strength to overcome adversity time and time again. Their words grow more confident with every letter, their depictions more vivid. The triumphs and defeats, the joys and sorrows. 'Tis clear that they have come to find value in every experience. But of those they treasure most, it would seem that meeting you might be the most impactful. Why, since that fateful day, I do believe there has not been a single missive in which you were not mentioned by name. "'Tis plain they care for you, and I am glad they have such a steadfast companion watching over them. Under normal circumstances, I would offer you tea, but alas, these are anything but. In any event, why don't you keep me company whilst we await my children's return? Perhaps you might regale me with a tale or two of your exploits."
When you mentioned gifts, I wasn't sure what to expect. Mother,
Oh, look how well it fits you. And the style is to your liking?
It's perfect. Exactly what I would have chosen. But please, tell me you had something different made for Alphino.
Naturally. You are hardly little children anymore. And while I shall miss dressing you in those precious matching outfits, I must respect the individuals you have grown to become. See for yourself.
Thank you for the splendid clothes, Mother. Stylish, comfortable, and eminently practical.
I am so glad you like them. They are, however, missing one final touch.
If you would allow me, Master Alphino.
Wait. Are these...
A sage's tools of the trade. They belonged to your father. Though he may as well be chained to his desk these days, as a student he was often called upon to venture into the field. He wielded those armaments, both to heal and to harm in no few battles. None so fierce as those you two have braved, perhaps, but battles nonetheless. Thus did I pull them out of storage, to show you that he was not always the man who stands in vehement opposition to you now. And also because it would be a terrible waste of ridiculously expensive House Leveilleur commissioned artistry. I am told these devices are quite difficult to master, but someone of your extensive experience should soon have them darting about with grace and aplomb. May the wisdom in that crystal serve you well. And please, try to find common ground with your father, that you might come and go without need for this awful subterfuge.
We will, Mother. I promise.
My final gifts to you, before you run off, are an observation and a suggestion. Firstly, Fortunato has ever been a serious man, but it was only after you were born that he truly lost himself in his work. I may not know the Forum's inner workings, but I know your father's. The timing of that change in him holds some significance. Secondly, do not seek to best your father with words. Far better that you simply show him. Let him discover the merit of your actions, after they cannot be undone.
Oh, Mother.
We shall take your wisdom to heart. Thank you again for these gifts, and farewell for now.
Safe travels, my children. Eat well, stay warm, and keep your friends close.
Thank you for indulging Mother's request. I can see it meant a lot to her, and I shall refrain from inquiring as to the content of your private conversation. Our visit was all too brief. For now, however, it will have to suffice, as will these tokens of home that we carry with us. These gifts to remember us, to help us remember who we are and whence we came. But enough sentimentality. Let us return to the annex and rejoin our companions. Enjoyed your time with the lovely Urs, I hope. I would ask how the twins fared, but their new outfits tell the tale. I only hope we can help them reconcile with their father, that they might return home one day with their heads held high. In the meantime, we edge ever closer to the secret the Forum strives to hide, and the flower bequeathed to you by Heidelin is sure to guide us going forward. I'm confident that once we've heard your report from Thavnir, we will be well equipped to plot our next move. Since there has been progress in both investigations, shall we share the findings from our respective locales?
Your time in Thavnir has certainly been eventful. In my opinion, carrying out Vitra's request and assaulting the Tower of Zot should be our highest priority.
I agree. While I still have questions concerning the Forum and their grand undertaking, we have all but exhausted our avenues of investigation. Simply pressing them any harder on the subject will almost certainly result in our expulsion. Therefore, I suggest we explore the ethereal sea connection by way of a letter to Master Matoya, then make our way to Thavnir.
I wonder, even with the protection these talismans afford us, what can we hope to achieve once inside the tower? According to Orenvold and Fodola's report, they were unable to free the Emolja. Worse, their attempts triggered the tower's defenses, which led to a summoning of Luna Ifrit.
What does it tell us that the Spires even have such defenses? Simply pulling a prisoner from the wall is fatal, thus the direct approach is doomed to failure from the outset. Any further measures to dissuade such actions seem unnecessary. Unless, of course, there is a way to free the prisoners without killing them. Then it stands to reason that any intruders will be met with overwhelming force.
The towers appeared throughout the world in but the twinkling of an eye. 'Twas by magical means these structures were raised, I surmise. A spire thus conjured must needs be maintained. And I suspect an arcane catalyst, some manner of core, doth lie hidden within. Destroy the core, and the tower ceaseth to be, thus liberating the captives without harm.
So we can hope. And I would prefer to enter the tower with a working theory than with no plan at all.
Assuming Ishtola's reasoning is correct, the chances of the defenses remaining dormant are small to none. Any primals will have to be dealt with, and defeating one will likely only lead to the summoning of another. Our every victory will only compound the prisoner's suffering.
May we not then divide our forces? Those proficient in healing will focus on sustaining the captives. That duty can be covered by Urianger, Kryl, Yostola, and myself. The remaining scions will proceed with the search for the core. Admittedly, this
I bet our
strategy puts
options are gonna
both
be
parties
different.
at greater risk, but it should bolster our chances of saving the Arcosodra by a considerable margin. If you're to fight primals, then you'd best have at least one healer with you.
And I am more than happy to fulfill that role. I found wielding a sage's armament to be rather intuitive, and look forward to testing them against
my
a more
options are: are
challenging
you sure
foe.
Alpha Nota is in the right group? And what of Alice? She knows a healing spell or two.
Those were my options as well.
It seems
I had a
we have
third one.
plan.
It was,
All
aren't
that
you forgetting
remains is to
someone?
carry it out.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. And so I picked it, and they're like, of
So let
course,
us make
you're a
our
really good healer.
preparations
You're the
and
best
regroup
healer
near
among
the
us.
tower.
Wow.
The military post in what's left of the Hamsa hatchery should serve as a convenient staging point.
That sounds perfect. And remember, the experimental aetheryte at the confluence is there for those who need it, so there's no excuse for being late.
When I suggested that Alpha Node was in the wrong group, their response was, if you're going to be fighting primals, you're going to need at least one healer.
I did the same.
Zora, did you pick the same one too?
Yes.
Oh, so we don't know what the Alice say response is.
But I believe we are probably at a stopping place for the night.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's almost midnight here. So just one moment and I will wind down the stream. Alright guys, I believe that is where we are going to call it for tonight. Assuming all goes as planned tomorrow, I will be back tomorrow night with more Final Fantasy XIV. If anything proves that otherwise, I will post on Twitter about it. And you can find my Twitter below in the instructions if you need it. So, until next time, guys, I want to thank y'all for joining me. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I'll see y'all next time. And have a good night.